Alrighty, guys, gals, non-binary pals, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are going to be talking about something that I get asked about almost every single day of my life. And now that the show is no longer here, I feel a lot more comfortable talking about it, but it feels like it just kind of makes sense to put a bow on this whole season of my life, or that time in my life, because it was a really incredible and important part of my life, and I think something that really made what I do today really possible. So we're gonna be talking about Ellen DeGeneres and my experience on the show, how I got onto the show, what it was like being on the show, what it's been like since I've been on the show, and I just kind of wanted to share my experience with Ellen as well. So for those of you that might not know, yes, I was on the Ellen Show in 2015, and I got a car. Spoilers, right? It's still the car that I drive today. It's another question I get all the time. I still drive the Mustang that I got on the show. How did I get on the Ellen Show? Well, for those of you that might not know, I made a video in 2014 or 2015. I don't remember the exact time, but that video went viral. And when I say viral, I mean viral. And I don't say that to toot my own horn or anything like that. Like, this video, I've never had anything happen like this since, and honestly, I don't think I'd ever want anything to happen like this ever again, because it was a very stressful time in my life. It was crazy. It completely flipped my life upside down. So the video that went viral was this one right here. So the title of it was My Biggest Insecurity, Loose Skin, and in this video, I showed my loose skin, right?
Tuck my belly.
So I showed my loose skin, and
my legs are probably actually the worst part. You should never let loose skin or anything else stop you from going for your dreams.
So I'm sure most of you have seen that video, and I think the reason, I don't really know why it went viral. I really can't say. I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm not an internet expert, but it did. And at the time, on YouTube, and I think in the space, loose skin now is something that is a lot more talked about. It's not as taboo, in my opinion. I feel like there's a lot more people talking about it, whether that's me or other creators. There are a lot more loose skin content. Instagram is a lot more popular. There are a lot more people talking about loose skin there. So there's no shock value really when it comes to loose skin anymore, in my opinion. But when I made this video, it went everywhere. It was on every website. I had everyone from my entire life that I've ever met reaching out to me saying, oh my God, your video was here, your video was here, your video was here. And at the time, I had a lot of shows actually reaching out to me as well. One of them was The Doctors. I had the Steve Harvey Show reach out, and a bunch of shows. And at the time, my friends joking around were like, oh, just wait for Ellen, just wait for Ellen. And I remember thinking, like, that's never going to happen. Again, at this time, this is when the Ellen Show was at the peak of its popularity, I'd say. Like, everyone loved it. There was no, like, now there's definitely a negative connotation, which we'll get into. But at the time, that didn't exist. It was all positivity, all good things. Like, if you went on the Ellen Show, that was a really cool thing. And so I never thought that was going to happen. I was just like, yeah, whatever. But then, lo and behold, I get an email from The Ellen Show, producer from The Ellen Show, them asking me to go on a call with them. And I was freaking out. And so they told me not to tell anyone, so I immediately told my friends. So I let them know. I was like, yo, The Ellen Show called. It was when I was at the gym. We went outside of the gym and ran around the parking lot. Like, we were all so excited, and we couldn't believe it, right? And so I get on the call with The Ellen Show. They want to hear about my story, just basic stuff. And they let me know, they made it very clear that you're not coming on the show yet. Like, we're not making any promises. We just want to learn about you. We just want to know about you. I said, okay. And so I talked to them, and they said, okay, we're going to reach out again, and we're going to send you some emails and yada. And so we did that. We went back and forth for a while. But I remember at the time, they told me, if you go on another show, you will not be coming on this show. It's not going to happen. And I had offers from other shows that I had to basically just ghost them, or just let them know, like, hey, I'm not going to do this. Because they were like, if you go on any other show, it's not going to happen. And I was like, The Ellen Show is the one that I want to go on. I think that's cool. It was the most popular one. I wanted the clout, right? Let's be real. And so I held out. The Doctors, I said, peace out, dog. I'm not about it. I don't want y'all. Steve Harvey, I said, I love you. I think you're funny, but nah, I'm going on The Ellen Show. And so that was really stressful because I was like, I hope I didn't make a really bad decision and they don't just be like, never mind, we're not going to have you on the show. And then I was, SOL. So a couple days go by. Maybe it was even a week. I don't think it was that long. It's hard to remember the exact timeline. But then calls, we had many, many calls. And in these calls, they would ask me tons and tons and tons of questions about everything you can think of under the sun. Where do you live? What kind of house do you have? What kind of car do you drive? How did you lose the weight? What was your past like? What were these experiences? Like every question you can think of, like they knew everything about me, right? And so they knew my social security number and everything. I'm just kidding. And so we had all these conversations and then they give me a call and they said, you're going to be on the show. Like, it's going to happen. This is the day that you're going to come on. Can you make that work? I said, of course. Right? And at this time, I was still working 2 jobs. So I was working at Starbucks and I was working at 24 Hour Fitness. And this was a really crazy time in my life because I would wake up at 3 a.m. every day, go to Starbucks and work until sometimes it was either between 8 or 12 was when I would get off. And then I would go to work at 24 Hour Fitness from 1 until 8 p.m. And then I would work out afterwards. So this was like a really crazy time in my life. And I remember it was like I had never really asked for time off of work because it was just like I worked a lot, right? And so I had to ask for time off of work. And both of my employers were really excited for me, especially Starbucks. Like they were like super cool and they were just like super dope. And they were like, yes, dude, go for it. We're super excited for you. This is so cool. And so I was really excited. And so I end up going to the show. So the way that this worked was because I live in San Diego, the show was filmed in LA. They just had a car come and pick me up, which was great for me because I hate driving and I didn't want to drive. And so they had a car come pick me and my really close friend Brian up, the guy that filmed the show, the video that went viral, this video that you guys see right here. He filmed and edited it. He made this possible. So if it wasn't for him, like none of this would be possible, right? And so they had a car come and pick us up in during the morning of the show and drive us up there. And so we, take the car ride up and then we get there and we are escorted to a green room. And then in this room, it has my name on it. It has like a mirror in there. It has like a ton of free stuff. It has like underwear, which like is like a thing on her show where she like has like the most comfortable underwear. So like had underwear, a bunch of food, snacks. And I think I was the quintessential like person that didn't belong there because they like had a bunch of snacks there and they said, yeah, you can take them if you want. And I'm sure most people are like, oh, that's cool, but I'm okay. I took every snack, all right? I grabbed that basket and I said, this is mine. I'm taking every snack. And I did. So I took every snack. And what was cool was the show that I was on actually had One Direction on as well. And so that was pretty crazy because I was there and there was a bunch of One Direction like fangirls and fanboys there. And that was wild. I remember being like, what the heck? And this was when One Direction was like peak popularity as well. And I was just like, I don't belong here, bro. I really don't. But I was there. And so when I get into the green room, I have a conversation with the producers that I've been talking to. Now, up until this point, I had not spoken to Ellen at all. Not even for a second. We never spoke. Right? And so I'm speaking with the producers, and then this is when they let me know. They say, okay, so Ellen is going to ask you some questions. These are the questions that she's going to ask you, and these are the answers that we think you should give. And at first, that sounds a little sketchy, right? But the answers that they gave me were things that I had already said over the phone, right? And so I assume that they do this with people that are not media trained, that are not, big stars, because you're in front of hundreds of people, right? Like it's a pretty nerve-wracking thing. So you're in front of hundreds of people. So they basically say like, hey, this is how the conversation is going to go. And I remember they said, also, do not try and be funny. They said that straight to my face. They do not try and be funny. You're not a comedian. Ellen is, you're not. Just answer the questions, right? They didn't say it that. They weren't like mean about it or anything, but they were just like, just don't. They're like, people try and do it all the time. It's always awkward. Just stick to what you've already said. And I said, fair enough. That's what I'll do. And so I'm just sitting in the green room now, just chilling, and I'm just waiting, right? And now I end up going on stage. So this is this is it right here. So this is me walking on stage right here. This is literally the first time that I meet Ellen is on stage of her show. This is the first time I meet or speak to Ellen, is on stage on the show. I was so freaking nervous here, but let's watch this.
I love this young man. After losing an incredible 160 pounds, our next guest bravely posted a video of himself revealing his biggest insecurity. Take a look.
This is who I am, and I'm proud of it.
From San Diego, California, please welcome John David Glod. Tell us about your weight loss journey, because it took a couple of years.
Yeah. So I was so nervous. And then like, look at all, so they do makeup and stuff. So I have a bunch of makeup. It looks like I'm wearing red lipstick. Yeah, people have made fun of me since then. I don't know. It's what they did. I don't know what to tell you. But they did like my hair and they didn't do anything to it. I was very proud of myself. I said, heck yeah, dude. So this, this was our conversation. I'm not going to show the whole thing. If you're interested, you can go find that video. But this was us talking. And so I end up being on the show, and she does this. If you're looking at the screen, she's holding up a GoPro because she kind of does a bait and switch. So she says they always kind of give gifts to the guests that are not famous, basically, right? And so she says, we've seen you vlogging in your car, and you're talking, and you don't have a GoPro, so we're gonna give you a GoPro. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then she said, all right, we're gonna bring you back on later, but we have to get One Direction on, right? And so they sent me into the audience. And at this point, I'm sitting in the audience and I'm watching her talk to One Direction. And then they do this thing where there was like this overflow room where there was a bunch of One Direction fans. It was like One Direction super fan overflow room. And so they had to walk up the stairs because the overflow room was behind where the audience was. And so One Direction walks up the stairs that I'm sitting in, and all of them stop. I was blown away. I was like, what? They all stopped because apparently they were watching the show behind the scenes, and they all shake my hand and they say, hey, like, congratulations, that's an amazing job. And I remember just being like, what is happening, right? Like, how is this real, right? And so, but they stopped and shook my hand, and I freaking talked to One Direction. I said, what's up, dude? I'm a One Directionite, baby. What's up? I don't know who they are. But, that was really cool. And then, so they do their thing, they talk, whatever. And then they bring me back on stage, and this is what ends up happening.
Get an all-new 2015 Mustang. Look at this car. Are you seeing that? That's your car.
I don't know.
So I end up getting a car, which I cannot express, this was 6 years ago now, if not more. And I still drive this car daily. It has almost 100,000 miles on it. It has been so good to me. This has been one of the coolest things that I have ever received in my entire life, right? Who gets a freaking car? I did. It was amazing. And the question is, do I have to pay taxes? No, because it's a gift. They have to pay the taxes. That was a whole thing from the Oprah show. Apparently, they gave a bunch of people cars. A lot of people had to pay taxes. They couldn't afford it, so they couldn't get the car. So they made I don't know if it's a law, but it's basically like, if you're going to give it as a gift, they pay the taxes, and that's how it works. If you win it as you're on The Price is Right or something, then it's different because you won it. So this show and this experience changed my life, right? So, and when I say I only spoke to Ellen when I was on stage, literally, we did that. She showed me the car. The curtains went down. She said, enjoy the car. I have to go. Walked off, and I never saw her again, ever. Apparently, they were filming 2 episodes that day, so it was really bam, 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 bam. They had to get everything done, and I was like, okay. So after that, a couple Ford representatives came up to me, and then they took me back and they showed me the car. This isn't the exact car that I have. The way that it worked was they show you, they have the car on stage, woo! But then you go home and you wait a little bit because they have to coordinate with the dealership that's local to you to give you the car. So it's a whole thing. And it took a couple months. And I remember in this time, a lot of my comments on my YouTube videos would be like, oh, this isn't real. You didn't actually get the car. You're not driving the car, blah, blah, blah. And I would be like, I mean, hopefully it's real. I just have to trust the process. So it took a couple months and I got the car. I ended up going to the dealership, and I remember I used to work at a car dealership, and so I was really stressed out because car dealerships can be really shady. And something that they'll do is they'll make deals, and then the bank after the deal goes through, will say, no way, we're not doing this. And then they call the person back in that has already been driving their new car, and they'll say, hey, actually, your payments need to be $300 more a month. And the person says, I can't afford that. And the people will be like, okay, well, we're going to have to take the car back. Sorry. And I was terrified that that was going to happen, right? But I show up at the dealership, and they say, pick whichever one you want. It was literally pick whichever one you want. Except for ones that have like been modified, which of course that's the one I picked at first. I said, okay, you can't get that one. I said, okay, fine. So I picked the car that I have now, and I drove away that day in the car. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. It's something that I think about, and it's like, that's crazy, right? So I got the car. All of that happened. Now, I think the question is, what was it like, right? Like, a lot of people ask me, how was your experience with Ellen? And like, if you watch the video on YouTube, that is my experience. We talked on stage. And I know that there's a lot of people that have a lot of problems with Ellen. And I think that now I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent. So if you don't want to hear this, that's fine. But I think that Ellen has made her whole image kind of being the nice, happy, always be kind, always be nice person. And the fact of the matter is, that's just not real. Like, no one is like that, right? No one is always happy. No one is always kind. It just doesn't exist, right? And I think that this is why a lot of people with the Will Smith stuff that happened recently, I think that's why so many people were so caught off guard by that. Because if you follow Will Smith, like he seems like someone that's always like pretty in a good mood, always a nice person, always like, and then when you saw that stark difference, you're like, oh, he's fake. Everything about him is fake, right? And that's what everyone says about Ellen. And I understand that thought. I get it. And I'm not even saying that it's wrong to think like that. But that's why it's dangerous to make your personality online that. Because you are being held to a standard that is so far above what is realistic to expect someone to be that I would never want that. And on my own level, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny sliver of like not even 0.1% of what they deal with, right? I used to get, when I would do Q&As on my Instagram, people would ask me, how are you always so happy? How are you always so like in a good mood? And I remember that would make me feel terrible because I felt like I was being fake. But for me, and this tiny amount of celebrity that I had, if I'm going to show up, I want to be in a good mood. And so if I'm in a good mood, that equals I'm going to show up. I'm going to be posting. I'm going to be putting up stuff on my story. I'm going to be filming YouTube videos. I'm going to be live streaming. If I'm in a bad mood, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to show up. I have that luxury because I work for myself. I don't have, like, no one can tell me you have to do this right now, right? It's like, no, I'm going to do it when I feel better. But these celebrities, they don't really have that luxury, right? If you have a talk show, if you're not feeling well, you're going to have to fake it. You're just going to have to fake it. If you have to go to a media thing, all this stuff, like, you're going to have to fake it. That's what's going to have to happen, right? And I think that a lot of times these people had to fake happiness, had to fake joy, had to fake all of that stuff, right? That's just how it is. And so for me, like, again, I know I don't even want to get into all of like the claims that have been against Ellen. I just think that this might sound negative, but like, I think it was an inevitable thing to happen because like when people see people that are like always nice, always kind, for some reason it annoys some people. Like, people don't like it. It's just like, people don't like when something feels off, right? When something feels a little fake. And so they want to bring that down. And I think that that's kind of what happened here. And I think that she made mistakes and you know, I'm not discrediting any of that. But as someone that, you know, I benefited a lot from the show and what they did for me. I can see the criticism and I can see the negativity, but I also know that what they did for me was really cool. You know, was it just an ad for Ford? Sure. Literally, that's what it is. But I got a car from it, and I'm still driving that car 6 years later. you know? And so I'm really thankful for that. So I think that, like, the reason I wanted to film this was I just wanted, because I get this question, like, all the time, especially more now. And now that the show is finally over, I felt like it was a good time to kind of put a bow on this whole story of mine. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, thanks for watching.